Hello and welcome back to the Lloyden Garza podcast. I'm your host, Lloyden Garza. Thank you for tuning in to our 14th episode. In our last episode, we explored mother wounds and how those wounds show up in our present relationships. We talked about ways to break the cycle. Today, I would like to talk a little bit about, or more go into heartfelt reflections. Joys of parenting. Mother's Day is around the corner and it will be on Sunday. And I really want to take the moment to honor all the mothers that are out there. Although not all of us are mothers, we are definitely either sons or daughters. And so we all have mothers, whether here now or in heaven. So I wanted to take a moment first and say Happy Mother's Day and honor all the moms that are out there for all your sacrifices and for your love. And today I just wanted to reflect more on the joys of parenthood. And this past weekend, I was able to actually take my family. It was our first time ever to the Bay Area Book Festival. And it was a really neat experience because I've never been to a book festival before. And my husband, the kids, my grandkids never have been to it either. So this was our first time for the entire family. When I first asked my husband to go, he had I'm not sure I want to go to a book festival type of look. Like, I don't think I want to go on a weekend. It was going to be in Berkeley. And so Berkeley is about an hour and a half from our house. And it actually took over almost 2 hours because of traffic. But what I really wanted to share with you was just those simple joys. I remember, getting there and we had to take two cars. So, we arrived there, found ourselves a parking space. I was able to reserve it ahead of time so we didn't have to really, go around and look for a space, which definitely eliminated some of the frustrations that can happen when going to a festival. But we got there, we were able to park fine, and just being able to be there with my children and my grandchildren and my husband was just such a simple but beautiful moment. I remember that, being there, we got some food and we're just sitting down and the smiles on their faces and the laughter. That was just one of those moments that were just filling for me. And it's not the first time that, my family and I would go somewhere. I mean, when the kids were younger, I would definitely take them to different places. And I don't know if I shared that story with you that our first trip together, it was just actually my daughter and my son and I was a single parent for a long time. I remember this was probably like 2008. I had brought them to Disney World. And so California to Florida, we had to take the plane out there. And I remember going there, I believe it was like in August. And I was actually, here in California, August is nice and sunny. It's summertime. And I did not, wasn't really paying attention to what weather looked like in Florida and how it was really raining and it was more like a hurricane season there. But I remember flying there and it was just us three. It was my first time taking them such a far away place, just us. And I remember just, being excited but really scared, like, oh my gosh, what to do, what to happen. And so watching it was, I remember too, what I'm sharing with that story is I remember when it was raining, we ended up finding ourselves some ponchos because we're like, okay, are we gonna just stay at a certain location? Are we gonna not do Disneyland? And so we ended up, I'm sorry, Disney World. And so we found ourselves, it was raining really hard. We didn't let the rain stop us from enjoying the park. So we put on the ponchos and it was more of the rain ponchos that you can wear with the hood cover. And I remember holding my daughter Leanne in one hand and my son Jacob on the other hand, and there we were. We would run to we would run to a place and be able to, or ride, and we would go out there and then be able to get in line. And the line was not long because it was raining. not too many people were like us, but hey, we were from California. We were there to enjoy Disney World, and we weren't going to let the rain stop us, although it was a lot of pouring rain, and they were still open. And so just remembering that that was just such a memorable event for us, and being able to share that with my children. That was our first time going to Disney World. And so it was just such a beautiful experience that I still remember and I treasure. And so last weekend, last Saturday, we went to, or Sunday, we went to the book festival. Just watching them, walk around and just interact. That was moments that I get to deposit back into my heart, and memories, and making memories. And so I share that with you because although it wasn't Disney World, although it wasn't Hawaii, although it wasn't a big attraction, it was still beautiful and so memorable. And for me, just watching my children, adult children, walk around, looking at the booths, interact with people, and then, being able just to, sit down and talk about what we've seen. I mean, for me, that was a beautiful moment. And so I just thinking about those precious moments that we have with our family, that, that we can always remember and treasure and go back to. And, my husband, and I thank him for being so supportive, because I know he didn't want to go, but he made the best of it. And so he enjoyed himself as well, found different things to look at. And my grandson, was checking things out, looking at all the different books. They were actually even giving away free books at one of the vendors there. And so it was just those moments that we remember and that we treasure. And that was another thing, is I remember how, like, with my children, being able to, when we had gone to Newport about 2 years ago, and it was all of us. We flew out there, and we were able just to hang out by the pool or have dinner together, just be away. It was something that was really beautiful for me. And I enjoy being able to take the children, or take my children and my grandchildren, my adult children, to different places together and spend that time. That's not something that was gifted to me at a young age. Our type of, our type of vacations, that it might resonate with some of you, was, I remember, when I was younger, that we ended up going to Disneyland. But I remember going, we had to, at that time, and I am appreciative that we did get to go, but I remember that we took the van, we drove out towards LA, and on the way we would stop at the rest stop. And I remember my mom and my uncle, we would have packed foods. So they would come out with the rice or the adobo, or or they came out with the eggplant dish, or they came out with shopao, which is more like, it's more a type of bread. And so it was just that type of experience, which I still treasured. But when we would go, we would stop. We definitely did not go and eat out. We would, pull over, and we would eat, the foods that we brought. And then when we went there, we stayed at somebody's house, and was able to, to sleep there and save some money on that. And then being able to go to Disneyland. So it was still a beautiful experience. I still remember that, and I treasure that. I even think about how, Disneyland is my sister's, like, one of her favorite places, because she remembers how we all went there together. So these trips of being able to be with family, I just think that they are something that is something remembered for a very long time. And so when I think about my children being able to have the family together, travel to these different places, see them, one of the things I do during that time is, I sit back and I actually just watch them first and just observe their interactions. Just really there, I just sit back in my chair, usually having a quick prayer, and just like, thank you, God. Like, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to be with my children and my family, my husband. And usually, too, there's a quick short story I want to share with you. Although it's not Father's Day, a story that I want to share with you about my grandfather was that, when my grandfather was alive, he wanted to travel. He wanted to go to the Chichen Itza. He wanted to go to the the pyramids, and he was never able to do that. And so I remember many, many, many years ago when I was in the car with my grandmother and my aunt. I was actually driving them somewhere. And I remember my grandmother sharing the story to my aunt about, and I remember her being so sad. And I was just listening and hearing this unfold in front of me of how my grandmother, one of her biggest regrets was that she did not give my grandfather the ability to travel and see what he's always wanted to see. That was always his wish. And so I remember that she was very sad about that. And she said that, she was always delaying. My grandfather wanted to go to the pyramids, but she'd always tell him we couldn't do that because we had to take care of so and so, or we had to, send them for school, or we had to, build this or send money to family or give money to family. And I remember how sad she was that it was too late. My grandfather was sick, and that they couldn't go anymore, even though they were finally in the financial position to go. And that really impacted me. And I remember, thinking to myself that I am going to try to make sure I do this. Didn't know how I was going to do that because I did not have the financial ability to do that. I was a very young mom. But I remember that, that once I was able to go on my trips, I always think of, like, for a moment, I kind of stop there for a moment by myself, find a little place alone, and just kind of step back and just, say, Grandpa, I'm here. You're here with me. I'm doing this for us, for you. And so that's my little way, to honor my grandfather. And I also know that that's another way I honor my grandmother, because I know that, she would have loved to see him do that. And I'm doing that for them as well as for myself. So I think about how we all have little ways to honor our families, honor ourselves. And so just finding those moments to hang out with our children, our adult children, our grandchildren. It's those moments, it's those memories that just last a lifetime. So just wanted to have a short episode, but really this to honor our mothers out there for Mother's Day, for all you mothers, for all those stand-in mothers, for all the ones, the moms, the people that bridge in the gap of motherhood. Thank you so much for your sacrifices. Thank you for helping shape the world and the people. And there's no way that we could do this without you. So in that honor, it's also reminder to honor ourselves, especially those that work so hard to shape our children's lives and provide for them. So I just want to honor all our mothers and for all those that stand in as mothers. So thank you. I hope that you found this short episode to be heartfelt, and I look forward to next week's episode. And again, happy Mother's Day.